Okay, so welcome. This is the discovery call for the Demystify Moonpause retreat in Morocco. I'm Tanishka, your host. You might know me as the Moon Woman. And I'm thrilled to have with me Jagruti, who I sat with in circle for 3 days. We did a red tent retreat together. Um, was it last year or the year before? The year before. Yeah, which was beautiful, hosted by Claire Roche, who's a dear sister. So yeah, and now you are too. It's that thing when you journey together deep into the womb of the Great Mother, you come out bonded for life. So it's so nice to have you on the call. And Tristana, I don't believe we've met, have we?
I did few of your online courses as a
Ah,
red tent facilitator, rite of passages,
oh my
and
gosh. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
and
Oh.
and you did a beautiful global red tent event, I guess, to promote these ones, and it was so beautiful to be with sisters from all over the
Ah,
world.
I love
Live.
those.
It
Yes, yes.
was very
Do you know, I
nice.
have a vision. I would like to have an annual red tent gathering on the land in Morocco and have people come from all over the world. Yeah, so we'll see, inshallah, as they say in Morocco, which means divine willing, God willing. So I've got my caftan on for our Moroccan discovery call. I got this in Egypt and I makes me feel like a queen. So that's what this retreat is about, because the mage phase, or also known as the magus from the Persian, is the feminine of the magi, the sacred magician, and that, or the alchemist, and that is the life chapter of midlife. So it's when people would get access to the Kabbalah or the mystery schools, because you're considered to have been tempered enough. Your ego has been pummeled enough that you're like, okay, I know nothing. Show me, show me. So if you're listening to this and you're feeling like I'm so over being pummeled, know that you're not alone. I feel like I'm now 54 as we're recording this, and I feel like the last 15 years I've been a punching bag for God. Um, so, uh, but for me, I made vows to serve, well, 28 years ago, and it was Kali Ma, who some of you may know, who, yeah, bless. She is the goddess of these times. Okay, so we're in the Kali Yuga, which is the Jagaruti. I'm sure you could speak to that more than what I can speak, so you might want to jump in a moment. But it's this turning of the great wheel where we are going through a cataclysm that is causing us to break down, if you will, just like a butterfly breaks down in the chrysalis and becomes fluid. For me, that's what baptism is as a sacrament. It's drowning in our own tears. And so, midlife is when we see suicide rates escalate. I had two girlfriends take their lives in the last few years, and Gen X, who is now in midlife, those aged born between 61 and 81, we had the highest suicide rates in our youth, and now again in this life phase. And it's because there's not enough soul midwifery, enough shamanic bowing to how challenging this life phase is. It's a crossroads, and it's, are you choosing death or life? And the irony is you have to have an ego death to choose life. So, it's hard going. It's hard going, and it's like every fear comes up. So we're shadow boxing with ourselves, with our nemesis, with our shadow. And just to come together in circle to acknowledge that, to acknowledge how challenging that can be, but with humor, with compassion for ourselves and each other. It wouldn't matter what we did, that in itself would be transformational, because I know the power of circle and, when we get out of the way and let God, so to speak. But I've prepared a slide. Did you want to speak to the Kali Yuga at all, Jagruti?
Thank you. I won't. I'm just
Cool. No
my
problem. No problem.
Carly Mine's here.
Okay, cool. So, what we're going to share, I'm just going to bring up on screen uh, what we're going to cover. So, who this event is for, what to expect, what you'll gain, what's included, what's not included, getting there and arrival info. So, the nuts and bolts, and additional cultural experiences or destinations that you may wish to include. And uh-oh, I didn't update that to say Morocco. Oops, we did the one for Bali yesterday. There we go. And travel tips if this is your first visit to Morocco. And I'd like to say at the outset that, I don't think I would have gone to Morocco had I not been invited by somebody who was actually a student of mine, another Australian, that was a bridge. So now I'm hoping to be that for other women because I know I'd always been fascinated with the architecture and the interior designs, the mosaics, and it's such a feminine, beautiful culture. Beauty is a high value. And but it's exotic, it's foreign, and we've been taught to fear um, people that are different. And so for me, doing retreats in both an Islamic culture and a Hindu culture, bringing Western women to those cultures, um, is for me part of the importance of us gathering, you know, to heal xenophobia, a fear of other cultures, a fear of not surviving in other cultures, and to be able to experience them in a curated container that feels safe, but also gives you a taste of these beautiful people and beautiful cultures. Because I certainly fell in love with them and now I want to share them. So, who this event is for, women navigating the change as it's known. Let me just check that I hit record. I think that I did. I did. Fantastic. I just had a moment. Good. So, I had had women over 40, but let's face it, women, um, it's not a hard and fast thing. I remember Naomi Watts saying she started perimenopause at 36. Um, and, the woman who taught me mandala art, she was 60 when she stopped bleeding. So, we've got quite a big spectrum there. Also, of course, we have women who experience premature menopause due to medical interventions. And women like myself who are in menopause, but I'm still having hot flushes. I'm still, having a lot of it's lessening, but a lot of the symptoms of perimenopause. So it's not a hard and fast thing. If your heart is calling you to come, that's all that matters. So yeah. For the women who don't even know they're in perimenopause, I just want to pose that question because I didn't. All I knew was that I felt dry and itchy and sore in my labia, and I didn't know what to do about it. And I couldn't get answers, not from doctors, not from older women. Nobody identified it as perimenopause. So for years, I thought I had a condition called lichen sclerosis because I just self-diagnosed on Google, which basically said your yoni's going to close up over time, which is terrifying. But it was simply what they call as vaginal atrophy, and I just hate that term with a passion. It's like the term cervical mucus. How the fuck are you meant to feel good about yourself with these sort of clinical terms? Truly awful. So we need to be reframing all of this languaging. But these are the subtle changes that I noticed, but I didn't have anyone to put the jigsaw pieces together and go, oh, I'm in perimenopause. There's a lot more out there now due to Gen X being very vocal and beating the drum about it. But there's also a lot of scaremongering and pathologizing. So, an elevated nervous system, more prone to impatience and insomnia, bouts of vertigo or changes in vision, like I was seeing this sort of thing, particularly after doing cardio exercise, hair loss and breakage, and also chin hairs sprouting out overnight. A girlfriend loaned me one of those magnifying mirrors yesterday. What a game changer that is. My God. You could spend an hour just, a dry, itchy, and sore labia. For me, it was more pronounced in my luteal phase, which is due to a drop in progesterone. So, yeah, good to know. It's also often more in the early hours of the morning. Nerve and joint pain, which both yoga and dietary changes change cleared that for me, and frozen shoulder. So we're more prone to injury in this phase. So if you are going to the gym, it's a time when you've got to be very careful. I was working with a personal trainer after lockdown and they wouldn't open the gyms in Australia, but they would allow, exercising outside. So me and my daughter, who'd gotten a bit sedentary during lockdown. I was doing a lot of cooking. Um, Thought we'd see and he was lovely, but he was used to training professional soccer players, and we were trying to please him, and I did an injury, which, I wore for 6 months. So, and then found out much later, frozen shoulder is very common for women in midlife. So, yeah, Laura, who'll be teaching the yoga for the retreat, she's very mindful of this and creating a program that's tailored, as well as weight gain and brain fog. So a lot of women suspect they've got you know, a tumor or something that's seriously wrong, or Alzheimer's. And even though women are more prone to Alzheimer's, it's brain fog due to a loss of estrogen, and it does come back, but yeah, it can be most frustrating. Omega-3s are somewhat helpful in the morning. So, what to expect? This is more than just a time out. So, if you go on retreat directories, most of the retreats are yoga and meditation, yoga and meditation. And don't get me wrong, a week of yoga and meditation will do you the world of good. So will a short holiday. It's a circuit breaker. But the difference with this is it has transformative processes. So we're going to be going deep, accessing your own inner guidance through journeying into the three worlds. So, woman is a mystery. And that is why, in this phase of life, if we buy into the patriarchal view of midlife and menopause, we do ourselves a grave disservice because we are not rational material beings. Okay. And what happens with the turning of the wheel? So, if we look at the seasons of our life from the perspective of women's mysteries, the maiden is springtime, the mother phase, whether or not we have children is actually irrelevant, is the summer of our lives. Now, this is when the sun is waxing to full. So, patriarchy favors these younger aspects, the more outward, pleasing, giving, nurturing aspects of the feminine. But at midlife, the wheel turns and we start to gather ourselves, to come in, to start resourcing ourselves and actually setting limits with others. And this is the autumn of our life in the mage phase before we're preparing for the winter of our lives as the crone, which means crown. So this is a time when we're practicing our power, okay, to distill our power. And autumn and winter are the more feminine seasons, the more inward, the more deep, the more reclusive. And so they're not understood. So if we view ourselves through a patriarchal lens, we see it as something wrong. Oh, I need to get back to how I was. This idea of the eternal maiden, which is what synthetic hormones is selling. You know, there was a book called Feminine Forever, which was published in 1966, and it promised that, you know, this would make a woman eternally youthful. So this is where, you know, and it was sponsored by pharmaceutical companies. So that's, you know, and now with big pharma and big tech being bedfellows, all we see on the airwaves is see a doctor, see a doctor. And so, you know, I'm kind of on this passionate thing to say, look, the word meno is Greek. It means moon. We need to put the moon back in Moonpause. And having been through particularly the final 13 moons of my 15-year journey through menopause, I really got what a huge shamanic initiation it is, which I'll share with you in the retreat. But suffice to say, the 28 years of journeying the practice of the 13 moons prepared me for the final 13 moons for menopause. And if we view menopause through a patriarchal lens, they say, you know, you're in menopause when you haven't bled for a year, not when you haven't bled for 13 moons, because there's 13 lunar months in a year. So it's about honoring the distillation of what you've learnt with your descent every month for all of those fertile years. Your final 13 moons is like a finals exam. And, you know, so it's the descent of descents, you know. So, yeah, we need support for that. And this is why, this is when you would be welcome to the Black Lodge, yeah, to the Grandmother Lodge, where you always have a space, not just at the darkest phase of the moon, but because your nervous system is more, you know, sensitive, you're psychically more expanded, you've always got a place of sanctuary where you can just go and be held in a sacred space, you know. So this is about us remembering and honoring ourselves as wise women, as wisdom keepers. And this is the phase of the medicine woman. So this is when healing is, you know, and it's about us becoming our own medicine women, not deferring to the experts, which is what we're constantly conditioned to do. So if we think about in the ancient days, rites of passage was to step more and more into your sovereign autonomous power. Now, because they've been medicalized, we're groomed to give our power over to the system more and more with each life phase and become frail little old women that are a mockery, you know, rather than dignified elders. So, anyway, that's kind of where I'm coming from. If that resonates with you, great. And it won't resonate for everybody, you know. If this isn't feeling like a match for you, bow to that. Yeah. Honor your sovereign truth. So, these shamanic practices are for you to go to be in a space where you can go and retrieve and champion the places that are wounded and scared, because this is where we champion the inner maiden. It's our second maidenhood. Yeah. And so we often recreate some of the triggering situations that we were experiencing as a maiden so that we can change the script, change the narrative, heal the subconscious beliefs, and create a new trajectory, a new ending for our heroine's journey. So, on that, we will be doing memoir writing to rescript. Yeah. So, um, this is also a time in life where we need more downtime, we need more headspace. So while it is a structured program, I've run retreats for 24 years and I learned many years ago you don't structure anything at night. Okay, that's just integration time. Yeah, social time. So during the day, yes, we will have focus time, but you'll also have fun, pleasure, time to be alone, to journal, to just, sit with yourself and gather your thoughts. So, yeah, it's kind of a bit like if you plant a fruit tree, it's a third for you, a third for your neighbors, and a third for the animals. We everything is, that sacred number of three. So we will be greeting the dawn because there's something that's interesting that I've noticed and I've spoken to other postmenopausal women. The sun becomes, what would you say? I shifted from wearing silver jewelry my whole life to wearing copper and yeah, and it's like you get your graduation robes from the moon. And then you're embodying the moon. So then you worship the sun. You're reflecting the sun because you are the moon. So, yeah, we're going to be doing sun eating, which is to a yogic practice to feed our light body with the plasma of the sun. Pranayama, so breathing practice, yoga led by my dear friend Laura Stafford, who taught yoga on my Ibiza Red Tent retreat, and meditation to regulate our nervous system. And Laura has done a lot of yoga with well, a lot of her one-on-one clients are very elderly. So, and the range of movement that she's given them has, just been a life changer. They've been able to go back to playing golf and things that they love. So, she really understands what it is to meet people where they're at and to understand that there's never a one size fits all. So we have a registration form that we ask you to complete that's very detailed because we really need to know what you're dealing with so that we can respond to your needs and tailor a program that does. There is pampering, and it's, we'll be going to the hammam, and it's a beautiful hammam. So this village in Morocco that I fell in love with is called Tamrat. We'll be staying in Auria, which is the village next door, and it's more of an authentic Moroccan village. So you'll really see a slice of Moroccan life. Tamrat's a little bit more touristy, more and more so every day because more Westerners are discovering it. But I was hosted there for a month in 2023 doing free consciousness raising events as part of a world tour. And it's on a surf beach, but it's village and the people are beautiful. They are so sweet. I feel so safe there as a woman walking around at any time of the day or night. There's a real sense of brother sister. They're a very sacred people, and yeah, it's special. Everyone I know falls in love with it. I've had friends come and visit me there and fall in love with it. But they have a hammam there, and it's for me, it's like a goddess temple. It's a beautiful building to be in. And at the end, they serve you, the mint tea and the lovely little Moroccan tea glasses with the beautiful Moroccan tea biscuits that you get handmade from the market. But we were there for a 2 hour deluxe session. So that includes a steam sauna, relaxation massage, a full body scrub, and a chocolate body mask. And you know, this is a practice that women used to do after bleeding, a renewal when you shedding the uterine lining, then you shed the skin. So you're completing your rebirth, hence the mikveh or the sacred bath. But for us, we're shedding the previous life chapter. So this is a sacred bathing communal practice. And you don't have to be completely nude if that's something, they're not in there. You wear your underwear. So I mentioned before that this is an opportunity to review and rewrite your story. So some of you that have followed me might know that I did a show at Edinburgh, and in hindsight, it was a self-initiation, an act of power ceremony. And so I'm going to take you through a structure for narrating your own heroine's journey, your escape from the underworld, so that you can embody the ascended Venus. So, memoir writing is a very powerful way of looking at your life from a mythical archetypal view, which is to say, if we think about the cosmic tree of life, known as the Shekinah or the Shekinah, which is the divine feminine principle, we journey down into the roots of the tree, when we bleed or when we go through a life transition. And then, like the Taurus field, if we allow ourselves to completely descend, we will ascend, and see ourselves and life from a higher perspective, from a mythic or an archetypal view. So that's the process for this. And we'll then share postcards from our story, which is distilling our wisdom so we can look back with gratitude and reverence for our most painful experiences and transmute pain into wisdom. There's sisterhood here to support us. So, you know, for me, I can tell a woman who has been initiated into the mysteries, who has sat in women's circle because she is available in her heart. She shares without a social mask. She's 100% authentic, and there is a sense of kin, yeah, just a reverence for other women, and an acknowledgement that every woman is a vessel for the goddess, and our teacher, our mirror. So that is the container. We will be processing through the sharing of our experiences in circle. I am very experienced as a facilitator. So if you've sat in circle and walked away feeling drained or bored, listening to people, bitch and moan and complain, that is not this space. Okay. I will give you my word that I will facilitate so that you walk away feeling uplifted and connected and humbled and inspired. We'll also have a rite of passage ceremony to mark this threshold so that you can embody the strengths of the Queen, ready for your next life phase, which is this, the purpose of this. It's about making that shift, letting go of the mother phase, of always being available and often overgiving at a cost to yourself. So, if you're ready, and we have to, like the moon starts to wane, we're coming from full moon down to last quarter moon in this phase. So we really do have to honor our bodies and bow to our bodies, not override them and try and go backwards, to please the culture. We'll also have an online circle a month after the event, just so that there's support for the integration of what it's been like going back to the everyday world after being in the special world of, being out of time. And what usually happens then is, we usually set up a Facebook group immediately after the retreat, and there are lifelong friendships that continue after every retreat I've ever run. So, there's opportunity there for reunions in person and things like that as well as just ongoing support. We've got some wonderful herbalist women on the team. So my dear, dear friend Francoise, who's I think she's in her mid 60s. She goes to India every year, has for many, many years. She's French but lives in Morocco. I met her at the Goddess conference I spoke at in Rishikesh in 2023, and the organizer made a point of sitting us together and said, "Oh, I really want you two to meet at lunch." And I said, "Oh, the next place I'm going to is Tamrat in Morocco, this little village." And she said, "That's where I live." So there's that lovely sense of, oh, this, we were always meant to come together at these coordinates at this time and do this work. So during COVID, she created an incredible permaculture garden, and it has a yoga studio in the middle. And that's where we'll be doing all of our retreat processes. But she'll be in the garden with us, um, going through the Ayurvedic medicine, which she studied for midlife, and how to prepare different remedies, and the constitution that we need to nourish in midlife, elementally. And Laura, who's teaching the yoga, she's also an incredible herbalist and medicine woman. Um, so she'll be leading a session on herb law for this life phase. Um, my piece, if you will, is the psyche, which means soul. So I love storytelling. And if you enjoyed Clarissa Pinkola Estes' book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, you'll really love this. There are stories that I'll be sharing that are specifically for us to unpack and decode, to see what the lessons are that we need to specifically master in this life phase, especially in relationship to relationships. That really comes up for review. This is when women tend to leave marriages more than any other life stage. And yeah, our values change. So there will be archetypal teachings, and metaphysical insights. So this is the piece that most excites me, that, you know, science, exoteric science can't comprehend. And that is, if we think about turning 49, so the Native Americans say a woman attains her power at 50. Well, that's because we've completed seven-year cycles of the Kundalini moving up to the crown. So, what we experience is a massive Kundalini awakening. And the word peri comes from the Persian mythos, and it means supernatural. So, this is what isn't understood, and there are huge social and cultural ramifications for women not being encouraged to be in that centrifugal force of the inner fire that purifies all seven bodies of our rainbow body, our soul, at this critical time. So yeah, that's I'm very passionate about educating women about the metaphysics of menopause. So we will be journeying through the worlds, so the three worlds on the world tree, down into the roots, the subconscious, into the trunk, the karmic patterns, and into the branches of the tree to see the archetypal lessons and the stories, um, so that we can make a shift on all levels: mind, body and soul, right? Because it's not just our bodies, okay? And it's not just our rational mind that's affected, it's the whole person. So, yeah, this is also when our psychic abilities expand, okay? So, this is another reason why the medicalizing of it, they fear our power. They fear us coming together. They fear us practicing our psychic power. So, it's wonderful, when we come together, that's expanded even more. So we will be honing our intuition through the art of divination, and you'll each get a little travel rider weight deck to take home, but we'll be practicing that in circle. Um, so what it includes, 6 nights of accommodation. It's, Airbnb. It's not a glitzy retreat center, but the interior is in the Amazigh or Berber is another name for it. The indigenous prefer the term Amazigh, but yeah, Berber is more common usage. But their style of interior, there's the price of the retreat is dependent on the room option that you go for. So that's all detailed on the web page, but there is a limited number of private rooms. There's also twin share and triple share. So, if you and your bestie want to share a room as your 50th birthday present to yourself, great. You can, save a few bucks. Um, in terms of meals, where so breakfast, um, you know, fruit every day. I eat in an Ayurvedic style, so I have fruit, then I wait half an hour so that it cleanses my body, and then I have whole grains with, seeds and nuts for fiber. So, yeah, we'll be having also some of the local delicacies, misaman, which is the local pancake, and they have amalu, which is almond paste with honey in it. Um, Always olives on the table at any Moroccan breakfast. They have beautiful little rounds of local bread, which they're capped at a certain price, so everyone can always afford bread. So, and because the French colonized, there's pastries everywhere. So, there's a selection. You'll also get to try a Berber omelette, which is basically like poached eggs done in tomato with cumin and olives. So lovely food in Morocco. We'll have vegetarian lunches. We've got a lovely woman who'll be our caterer for the retreat. But I've included a lot of dining out because I like to support the local economy. Years ago, I went to Jamaica. I was 24 and I stayed at an all-inclusive resort owned by an eye surgeon that lived in LA. And one night we went out to get a meal, and the local restaurant we went to could only afford to put one meal on the menu. So I saw the cost of what happens when, Westerners come in, do something and then leave, and they're not actually, you know, contributing to the local culture. So I'm going to take you to my favorite places to eat, and I love to eat. So, yeah, we're going to have a very nice time. Tagines, if you've never had a tagine, there's vegetarian and vegan options, but I'm a carnivore. The lamb tagine with raisins and prunes is amazing. The chicken tagine with lemon and green olives, amazing. They use so much onion in every dish, like they're just and slow cooked. Mwah, stunning. So we're going to have some lovely meals. And my favorite restaurant for ambience, La Josephine, um, has beautiful vegetarian dishes. So, yeah, we're going to have a very nice time. And also, nice to kind of, go out and treat ourselves a bit after going deep during the day, just go and have some pleasure. After all, soma, the essence of pleasure is what soothes the nervous system when we're fired up with all this kundalini moving through us. Um, we'll provide bottled water, so it's really important that you don't clean your teeth with the local water. And snacks, you won't go hungry, okay? I love to eat. As you can see, there's baklava. The souk in Agadir, we're going to get some really good baklava. So yeah, the nuts there are just divine. So yeah, you'll have access to protein if you're like me and your blood sugar drops. Don't worry, you're not going to go hungry. But we do need to know your dietary requirements so that we can take that into account and plan menus. Go for it, Tristana.
Can I ask you a question about it? Do
Yeah.
we write an email to the admin person that has been communicated? I don't remember her name. Sorry, because
Lynn,
I
that's
read
okay.
Lynn, right? Yes. Do we email her about the requirement, the dietary requirement?
Good question. Thank you. So, when you book, we
I
will
already
send
booked.
you a, you already booked.
I already booked.
Oh gosh. Well,
I'm booked. I'm
did
in.
you
I'm
not get a
game.
registration form?
I did, and maybe I wrote it already. I don't remember because I booked like a couple of
Oh.
months ago, maybe.
Okay, I
Yeah.
will ask Lynn then because the registration form um, has your dietary requirements as a question so that we
Ah,
capture that as soon as you register. So
okay. Yeah.
I will ask Lynn if she's got your dietary requirements.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
it's a very simple thing. It's just I don't like coriander. See, I hate coriander.
so you have the extra taste bud. So it
Exactly.
tastes like soap. I totally
Exactly.
respect that. My
Yes, please.
dear old housemate Johnny was like that. So
Yes.
good to know. They
Yes.
have
So if you
a
can
lot of
be,
fresh coriander there. So always on the
yeah,
side.
on the side if possible, so then people can choose.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Don't
Yeah,
want
that's.
food
But
tasting
I'll
like
write it
soap.
again to Lynn and just to make sure because I don't
Yeah.
remember if it's noted or not. Yes.
Yeah. And now that you've spoken it, I'll make sure I speak that specifically to the caterer.
Thank you.
Importante. Good, good, good. Yeah, because I have a lot of coriander there, fresh coriander or cilantro for the Americans. So, um, we will be going to not the Sahara, but a little desert that's known colloquially as Little Sahara. So it's easy to get to. If we were going to the Sahara, it'd be, a couple of days travel. But this, it looks like the Sahara, but it's right on the cliffs of the coast on the Atlantic Ocean. It's spectacular. So we'll be doing sunset Qigong there with Johan, who is a beautiful um, uh, dear brother. He's a poet, um, and yeah, you'll love him to bits. So he takes groups to this place with Laura. They have a guest house, and what they do is they arrange for us to have optional camel rides. There's also you can get on a surfboard and surf down the dunes on your bum. I did it once, screamed the whole way down, totally optional. Um, and then we have, once the sun sets, we sit on Persian rugs and they make a fire and they put candles around. And we have, they cook on the fire a tagine and serve us mint tea and delicacies for dessert. And they serenade us with gnawa music, which is the Moroccan sound healing. It's trance invoking music. So, like the Indian ragas, or the Greek chorus, it's music that spirals, that is it's trance inducing. Okay, so beautiful music. So that's, had to happen. That's under the stars. Uh, we'll also be going to the souk in Agadir, which is the city where you'll fly into, which we'll get to in a moment. Do not overpack. Leave room in your bag because there are 4,000 market stalls, not that we'll be going to all of them. Um, so, you know, you might want to get spice mixes, essential oils, incense, natural incense. So, you can get the charcoal discs and the tongs and beautiful natural incense. Um, Probably be able to get some oud, which is the most aphrodisiac essential oil. You can also get it as the pieces of wood to smoke your yoni. I remember watching Joanna Lumley on her trip down the Nile, and she she was on her way down to the south where the women smoke the not just their yonis, they're wearing the full long burqa and kaftan, and they're squatting over the aromatic wood of the oud, and it tightens the skin of the labia, but she was a bit sort of judgmental, saying, "Oh, this is done to please the husbands, blah, blah, blah." And then it cuts to a shot of her going, "Oh, I wish my husband was here now," because it's such a beautiful scent, and it's a sort of scent, men or women can wear it. Um, so yes, you'll enjoy the markets. You can get argan oil, which is wonderful for your hair, and watch them make the argan oil. Natural beauty products. If you want to buy caftan, jewelry, leather bags, leather shoes, very affordable and beautiful, handmade. Oh, yep, Tristana has a question. Go for it, darling.
Thank you for allowing me to interrupt again.
Totally
As you
go.
know that I'm supposed to go to the market, I feel that I would need to go now because it
Okay.
starts in 10 minutes. So
Okay,
just,
you've got to go.
but I would like to ask a question, if possible,
Of
before I go.
course. Yes.
So, as you know, I'm already booked, and I listening to you is just reconfirming 1,000 times the amazing choice I made. I feel
Great.
so touched and so vibrating, and I'm so grateful. Really, really, thank you for creating this space for women in this stage,
Yeah.
and helping us to empower ourselves, because I can see it can go wrong. It can go really wrong. It can go two ways. So that you are guiding us to get to the most empowered way is so necessary. So really, thank you for that. And on the practical level, I've
Yes.
never been to Morocco, and I'm not sure yet where I'm flying from.
Okay.
However, I was dreaming of going to Marrakesh for a couple of days, either before or
Yes.
after, and was wondering if I don't know, am I supposed to be scared? Am I supposed to be, yeah, I can do this? Can I
Yes.
share the trip? Do you know of any other woman that is coming that
Yes. I'm
special?
going to be speaking to this, giving you a number of destinations. So I recommend going to Marrakesh for 3 days. If you've never been to Morocco,
Yeah,
to add 3 days after the trip, after
after.
the retreat.
Okay, after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if there are other women who are also interested in doing that, let us know so that we can connect you. So that if you want to go and sightsee together after the retreat, that would be a
Mm,
lovely opportunity rather than doing it in isolation.
mm.
Yeah. So I will be going through with my, you know, top 10 things to do in Marrakesh. Yeah, because for me, that's what I did. My first time to Morocco, I spent 3 days in Marrakesh before going to do my events, and I fell in love with it. So, what I would suggest, Tristana, is go do your market stall now. I know you can't stay on the call, but watch the recording because I will
Ah,
be going through all of that.
mhm.
But I'll work my way through sequentially through what I
Okay.
prepared. Yeah.
Yes, I forgot there is a recording. Yes, okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that very much. And
Pleasure.
then I guess I will keep writing to Lynn about if there is something, if at some point you do, I don't know. If,
Yes. If you have any other questions after watching the recording, absolutely email Lynn at admin@themoonwoman.com.
yes,
Yeah,
perfect. Okay.
awesome. All right.
Okay.
Thanks for jumping on, given that you've got to go and do a
Yeah,
market stall.
I know. Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Grutti, nice meeting you, and I hope to see you there. I don't know if are you coming?
Inshallah.
Hopefully, okay. Finger crossed. Really cool. So it would be nice to share with you too. Okay. So
Beautiful.
all the best to both, and
You
have
too,
a good rest
darling.
of the
See
day.
you
Okay.
there.
Take care. Bye.
Ciao. Bye. Okay, so yeah, olives, dates, tea blends, local delicacies. Like a lot of people get the boxes of the little star and moon cookies. They're all, my favorite are the gazelle horns. They're little pastries filled with an almond similar to a marzipan, so they're not sickly, but it just works. It's a marriage, beautiful with a coffee. Painted ceramics, mint tea glass sets. There's so many lovely things. We'll also be doing a silent disco. So, where you get the headphones, which are lightweight so you can move, but on the sand, under the stars, with a bonfire. Yeah, stunning, absolutely stunning on a very secluded beach. So you can dance like nobody's watching and really commune with the elements. We'll also be going to this beach club called Amirage, and they have a huge banquet, a Moroccan banquet, so we can watch the sunset. And then, they have a DJ with decks, so we can have some dancing right on the cliffs at Tagazout, which is a nearby surf town, very touristy. But yeah, just nice to get out and do something different. We'll included in this retreat is private transport because we're not in a retreat center, um, because the only retreat center in Tamrat is all inclusive, and I didn't want to do that. We're going to be going between, accommodation and excursions and yoga and restaurants and things like that. So, yeah, your transport is included. Also, art and ceremony supplies. Art is the language of the soul. So, in my retreats, it's not that you're expected to be an artist, but I invite you to express your inner landscape through color, through texture, and then be able to scry into it and read it as if it were a dreamscape, so that we capture our journeys between the worlds and they don't just evaporate, like a dream. And ceremony, a lot of people these days think if it's not a ceremony unless there's cacao or ayahuasca, but you know, that's ceremony is any action that anchors on a physical, somatic level, a change that we know in our heads we need to make in our lives. It's like by living it in ceremony between the worlds, opening that space between the worlds by casting circle, invoking the elements, we then anchor that we're now embodying that and we can live it in our lives. So all the ancient traditions had ceremony to midwife people across their life transitions. So, and without that, we fear aging and we fear the unknown. We retract rather than move forwards. So, ceremony helps us to move forwards and to embrace the next chapter. What it doesn't include basically is your travel expenses. So, your flights to Morocco, I do encourage you to get flexi fares if possible, not because I'm planning on changing my plans, but we're living in strange times. So I, for one, don't trust the globalists as far as I could throw them. I've read the playbook of Lockstep, and I know that they're not done. COVID was just the beginning. So, they could pull a stunt. And if they do, we will reschedule the retreat. But for that reason, if you can get flexi fares that will give you peace of mind, and I state this in the terms and conditions which are on the website. So if you're like, what's that about? Go and have a read. You don't need a visa to get into Morocco, as in it doesn't cost money. You're there, most people can stay there for 3 months. But having said that, do check whether your nationality requires a visa. Travel insurance, absolutely. You can usually get it when you book your flight. You might find if you shop around, for instance, Australia Post has good competitively priced insurance, but you definitely want to get it. I broke my toe recently when I was in Morocco, stubbed it on the iron base of the couch when I got up too quickly to get my headphones. And yeah, thank gosh that I had travel insurance. Airport transfers, it's a 1 hour trip um, from the airport to our accommodation. We will organize a driver for you. You don't have to organize a driver, but you will need to pay them. So, what we need you to do is to send us your flight details. Just take a screenshot or forward the email with your arrival and departure dates. Now, obviously, if you're wanting to go to Marrakesh, before or after the retreat, then you might need to, um, you know, fly into Agadir, which is the city closest to the retreat, which we'll get to in a moment, and then fly out of Marrakesh. You can get a bus from Agadir to Marrakesh, and our driver will be able to take you to the bus station to be able to do that. But yeah, basically from where we are further down the coast to the nearest city, which is Agadir, it's about 31 US. Lunch and shopping, you'll need your money for that. So Morocco is cheap. Okay, you can get, you know, a meal for £3.50, or you know, three, three US to five US. Like it's cheap. So yeah, and the shopping as well. Um, I'm not very good at haggling, but it is a culture that haggles. Um, and if you're wanting to drink alcohol, then that won't be covered in the when we go out for restaurant meals. The food is, but not alcoholic beverages. I would encourage you to stay as clear as possible during the retreat, but I honor you as your own authority figure. I'm not your parent, so you know, you make your own choices and you live the consequences. But of course, in midlife, one glass goes a long way. Where just our sensitivity just, yeah. So, arrival info. You want to book your flight to Agadir Airport. Send us the details so we can arrange for our driver to collect you so they know where the accommodation is, because the taxi drivers don't use Google Maps. They pull over and ask people. So we'll have a driver that knows exactly where the accommodation is. So let us make that less stressful for you by organising a driver. Check-in time is 3 p.m. and that's for us, the organisers, as well as you. So when we get there, we will be, setting up the kitchen and things, but you can come from 3 o'clock on the 25th. So I would probably aim to try and get a flight that arrives early afternoon, um, maybe even 1 o'clock. So you've got time to clear passport control, customs, get a SIM card, a local SIM card at the airport, because that is much cheaper than international roaming costs on your mobile phone. Um, I'll cover that in a moment. And also, exchange some money into local Moroccan dirhams at the airport. So all of that can take time. And then you've got an hour's drive. It's a lovely drive along the coast to our village. So that, you know, ideally, if you are traveling a long way, the rule of thumb in adjusting to different time zones is you try and stay awake till sundown, right? And I would advise you to take a melatonin capsule. It's completely natural. You can buy it over the counter in Morocco, but in Australia, you'll need a prescription. I don't know about other countries, but it basically signals to the brain chemistry that you've had enough sunlight for the day so that you can go to sleep easily and have a good sleep naturally without tranquilizers. So that's just a bit of a travel hack for adjusting to different time zones. The UK and Morocco are often on the same time zone, so that you can get a direct flight from Gatwick to Agadir. We'll have a welcome dinner at 5 o'clock. So, well, social time together. So, yeah, that just gives you time. Maybe if you need to have just a lie down, do some yoga nidra. Um, yeah, or just, yeah, meet others, have a cup of tea. Departure info. So if you're leaving Morocco directly after the retreat, Um, I would book your flight on September the 7th in the afternoon because we finish our program. 11 is checkout time. So we will be doing a closing circle from 9 to 11. So in the morning, you'll need to make sure that you're packed once you're showered and breakfasted. So, yeah, given that you need 2 hours before an international flight, I mean, it's a very small airport in Agadir, it's totally low stress. Um, then, just allow time to travel to the airport. So, but do keep in mind, September 7 is a full moon eclipse. So, you may not want to travel on a full moon eclipse. You may want to just even have a night locally in Tamrat. I highly recommend, um, oh God, what's the name of it? Riyadh. My friend Renee created it. Oh my God, brain fog. I will look it up. Laura and Johan also have accommodation. So if you're thinking you might want to stay in Tamrat for just a night or two to decompress after the retreat, let us know and we will suggest a couple of places. Um, or if you're going on to Marrakesh, that would be a lovely thing to do. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Because eclipses stir up a lot of energy. And yeah, you may not want to necessarily be in transit. So these are my suggestions for exploring Morocco. Now, you know, I would say 3 days in Marrakesh if you've never been to Morocco. Riyadh Amin is the place that I stayed in the old city, the old Medina. And I literally, it brought tears to my eyes, the beauty of my room. Um, it was, um, there's a beautiful French woman who was managing the place. They organized a lovely young man, Suleiman, who took me on the back of a motorbike to the different places. He's no longer working there. His family lost their house in the earthquakes, and I organized a GoFundMe for him, but he's now living in France. But I'm sure they'll have another driver there to be able to take you places. You may not want to go on the back of a motorbike, but for me, it was thrilling to be able to go through the labyrinth of back streets, on the back of a motorbike. Um, but there's a little cafe underneath this huge olive tree that was flowering. So I was being showered in tiny little petals, and the harira or harissa soup was divine. They always bring you complimentary olives wherever you go in Morocco to start, your appetizer. But it's right opposite the main mosque, which I'm going to show you in just a second. The call to prayer at dawn is divine. It's like listening to Omar Farouk. So beautiful. I can't say the same for Tamrat. The guy sounds like he's calling in sheep in the paddock. He is tone deaf. So if you go to Marrakesh, it's lovely to stay next door to the mosque. I was doing my yoga on the terrace at dawn, listening to the call to prayer. You can't go in if you're not Islamic, but you can walk around the grounds. Um, you can visit a traditional hammam. So the oldest one, the one that I went to, which Riyad Amin recommended, is the Hammam Musain, dating back to 1562. And there's a guy with fueling the furnace, so the tiles are warm to lay on. And I actually lay there. They let me go for an hour. I just was chanting because the dome ceilings, the acoustics were amazing. So I was just lying there with my eyes closed in my undies, just singing women's chants. And they're segregated, so it's a women's one or a men's one. And it's, you know, it's a communal bathing experience. So if you're not comfortable with nudity, probably don't go. You get down to your undies. So bring a spare pair because the other ones will get wet. But literally, you're being bathed like you're a 2-year-old. There's a woman there. She's got pendulous breasts and she's scrubbing you down. And there's a sense of innocence. This is about us returning to a state of innocence in midlife. So to feel like you're 3 years old being washed by a very maternal woman is deeply healing, even though it's a very simple thing. Now, if you have hair like mine, you might want to just signal, please don't wash my hair, so that you don't come out looking like a broom. But they also have optional massage there. Don't expect, you know, someone who's trained in anatomy, but it's nice to complete the whole experience. And then afterwards, I walked out and there was a man freshly squeezing pomegranates by hand to make a juice, and I thoroughly recommend that to complete your experience. And just outside, I got to say, all of the stall holders, I was waiting a while for my driver, and they were offering me free bottles of water. And the reason was I was covered. So I don't cover my face, I don't cover my head, but basically I do try to cover my down to my elbows and my knees. And the reason is I'm in their culture. So just as a mark of respect that I understand for them, woman is sacred and that she's not trying to sell her sexuality by showing off what she thinks are her best physical assets in public. I want to be seen as a sacred vessel, so that's how I choose to dress in Morocco. Having said that, if I was there in the summer and I was really hot, I would dress for comfort. But if it's comfortable, then I will observe their customs as much as it doesn't discomfort me, right? Totally up to you. They were colonized by the French, so you do see women walking around in yoga wear and in bikini tops and cut off jeans. You know, it's a mishmash. But the locals, if you greet them with salam, which means peace, you watch their heart melt. And that for me is worth everything. It's just a mark of respect to greet people in their mother tongue. And often they expect you to be French. So when they realize if you're not French, they're very excited to know where you're from and are very, very welcoming. That isn't to say they're not welcoming to the French, but there's a little bit of, you know, pain around their colonization. So being sensitive to that. If you are French greet them with salam instead of bonjour, it goes a long way. Um, I didn't do this, but I saw it on a travel blog of a New Zealand family. Um, had I known, I would have. So storytelling is, people sit up on the night terraces and drink mint tea after dinner. They don't eat dinner there till 11 at night, sometimes midnight. And it's a moon worshipping, moon bathing culture, a feminine culture. So people discuss philosophy and spirituality and share stories and poetry of an evening. So in the Casbah, which is world famous, pilgrims and travelers have gone there for thousands of years. This place, Cafe Clock, is an institution. They have free storytelling nights on a Monday and Thursday night, as well as live music on other nights. They also do a camel burger if you're not vegetarian, with gluten-free, vegan, and veggie options. So you might want to check that out. Oops, I've jumped all over the spot. There we go. I did go to this palace. The architecture is mind-blowing. So the chap who created it started his life as a slave. The beauty of this building is mind-blowing. So lovely to go and take photographs. Yeah. Moroccan cooking class. I haven't done this, but I would love to. On TripAdvisor, this is the one with the top reviews. I don't exactly know how to pronounce that. Chef Camissa. I did notice that this place also does, Cafe Clock does cooking classes, but she also does market tours as well as the classes in her home. So if you want to know how to use the spices that you buy at the market, it might be nice to do. I went to this photographic exhibition. I loved it. Um, it has a cafe up the top where you can sit and have a tea afterwards, but beautiful sort of images of the the Amazigh women. These were matriarchal women. I don't know if you're aware, there's a film that came out a few years ago called The Woman King, and it's the true story of an Amazigh woman, but in true Hollywood fashion, she's played by an African American woman and she's very butch and, angry and warlike. Whereas when you see the photos of the real woman, her name meant priestess and she was very much in her feminine. So to see images of the Amazigh women in their traditional clothes and to see what life was like for them before Islam is I think a real treat. I love photographic exhibitions. I also love this place. It is a former Islamic culture, so people went and studied the Quran. Again, the interiors are breathtaking. Another lovely place to go and take photographs, but just to be, yeah, in a place that was created with sacred intention. I love visiting gardens when I travel. So I didn't get to this garden because I didn't realize I would have had to have booked online beforehand. There was a queue that went for like 3 blocks. The Secret Garden or Le Jardin Secret, there we go, Australian butchering the French. It's 400 years old. It had fallen into disrepair, and Yves Saint Laurent, who retired to Morocco, he uh, not refurbished it, but breathed life into it again. And so now it's on display for the public. There's also another huge garden, which I didn't get to, 25 minutes walk away, and you walk through the garden and you can buy exotic fruits on route. So that would be a lovely day trip. Do take a hat. Um, I did go to the Yves Saint Laurent Museum. It wasn't cheap, but I do love haute couture fashion and it was fascinating. So if that's something that rocks your boat, go and check that out for something different. And the old souk in the Medina, you can they're so excited to share with you their crafts. So, showing you how they dye the yarn to and weave the rugs and grind the argan oil, which looks like the if you're in India and you see the yoni and the lingam where they do the Shiva lingam offerings of milk and honey and flower petals to honor the sacred marriage of God goddess, it looks identical to how they grind the argan oil, which to me is a throwback to the times when the goddess Tanit was worshipped by the Phoenicians in Morocco and by the Amazigh. So my travel tips for Morocco should say it's land of cats. If you're a cat lover, you are going to love Morocco. So they love to be fed and patted. I usually share my dinner with about 5 street cats. If you are allergic, we won't be having cats in the home, so don't stress about that. Do bring cash. Okay, cash is king in third world countries. Um, this is a good way to avoid huge ATM fees. I know coming from Australia, if I use my Bendigo Bank debit card, I get charged $5 Australian every time I withdraw money. So bring cash that you can exchange into Moroccan dirham, dirham. You can check out, just Google currency converter and you can see, the exchange. It's very good. Um, and you can change your money at the airport. There's also a currency exchange in Tamrat with a lovely woman who speaks English at the front desk. Um, do get a local SIM card, as I said earlier, but be sure to keep your local SIM in a safe place because they're very small. You know, you might want to bring a little tin that you buy mints in or something where you can keep your SIM card in your handbag. Um, as I said earlier, I prefer to dress modestly, especially to arrive at the airport, just to have a smooth, you know, greet the security people at Salam with the salam, but they're very lovely, you know, but they will appreciate that. Um, Arabic and French are the languages. I don't speak either. So if I can get through with my English and bonjour and salam, I'm sure you can too. You know, they strive to speak English because, you know, they want to welcome tourists. But as I said before, don't drink the water, don't brush your teeth with the local water. We will provide you with bottled water on site. What you'll gain? Well, one of my favorite books, I did reread this book first time I came to Morocco. You might want to read it just before you come to Morocco. It is such a lovely read. It's a real heart-centered journey for any spiritual seeker. Um, this 7 day program is to reframe the change that we go through when we graduate from the 13 moons, monthly, 2 weeks down, 2 weeks up, the descent that takes us down, that humbles our ego every month as fertile women. This is a celebration that we are now distilling that lunar wisdom within our grail, within our sacred vessel, and it is honoring it as a shamanic rite of passage. This is a held space to journey deep into the mystery, to connect with the magus, the mage, the matriarch within you, to distill your personal power through like grinding those argan nuts, grinding down your life lessons so that you can, you know, not feel bitter about your hurts, but transmute them. And this is to demystify the true power and purpose of menopause so that you embody that as a woman with dignity. Um, this is an opportunity to visit the land of mystics, you know, the place where people have come, you know, they're the desert people, like in Australia, the Indigenous Australians, very gentle people, people that, you know, are stargazers, that if we think about, you know, the desert is a place of extremes. During the day, it's extreme heat. During the night, it's extreme cold. So, just like the polarity of the solstices, you know, the people that live in Iceland or in Norway, or the people that live, you know, deep in the southern regions of Australia and Tasmania, you know, these are the people that really journey polarity. And so their ego is humbled. So they are natural mystics, you know. So if you love the poetry of Hafiz and Kahil Gibran and Rumi, you will love the culture of Morocco. And they bow to woman as the mystery, as the embodiment of the mystery within a sacred vestal. And so there's no better place to come, I think, when that's what we're doing, the great work, the alchemy. So we can't comprehend the mystery of perimenopause with the mind. We must surrender to it. We must enter into it with humility. Hu is, you know, the Latin meaning of the earth. So we must humble the rational mind. Hence we have brain fog. It's because our psychic sensibilities are opening up and we're not meant to be as rational. So don't make the decision whether to come with your rational mind, make it with your body. So the body is the barometer of the soul. So I invite you to close your eyes just for a moment. I'm going to pose 4 questions and just notice on a somatic level what your body says, whether an expansion is a yes, a contraction is a no. Okay. So, do you need time away from the distractions of your everyday world to reconnect with your soul? Just notice what the response is. Do you need time away from all the distractions, obligations, responsibilities to reconnect with your soul? Two, does your body say yes to a week journeying with like-minded women and sharing insights from the life lessons that we've distilled? Three, does your body say yes to visiting an ancient feminine culture to reawaken your own soul memory? Often the places we're called to, we've lived before, and it has a soul fragment. So when we're back on that land, we remember gifts that we'd honed in that lifetime, and we're recalling parts of ourselves. So does your body say yes to a pilgrimage to Morocco? And finally, do you get a yes in your body to being facilitated through a rite of passage to embody your sovereign power as queen, as the magus, the mage? So you don't need to respond to me. You're only answerable to yourself. I welcome you to open your eyes. And yeah, um, we do have limited spaces. At the time of recording this, I have 4 women booked. We have 16 places available. Um, I'm going to be promoting this at all the live events I'm speaking at, all the festivals in the UK. Um, but I trust whoever's meant to be there, there's always a magic. You'll have, you know, past life connections and deep soul friendships with the other women that are, called to do it. I don't know if it'll happen next year. So if you're sitting going, oh, I'm going to do it next year instead, if it doesn't happen this year, it won't happen next year. So if you're feeling the call, seize the day. Um, and I will gift the first 3 women that book from this discovery call. It doesn't have to be in the next 24 hours, but the first 3 women that book, I will gift you a reading. You can choose from either a tarot reading or a feminine archetype reading to chart how those 7 feminine aspects are playing out in your psyche, who's dominant, who isn't, and what each of them need at this time. But just a caveat, I won't be doing the reading until after the retreat because I just don't have the capacity because I've got so many live events to do, and I need to honor my limits. So, but that will be a lovely integration after the retreat. So, yeah, if you feel to sign up, then seize the day and you'll get a free reading. So, thank you, Jagruti, for sitting with me. So, I'm not just talking to myself. Do you have any questions that have come up for you as I was speaking?
Oh, bless you. No, thank you. It's been a wonderful presentation and it's
Oh,
just very thorough. I can't think of any actual questions at the moment because you've covered everything, but it just confirmed it was a full-bodied yes to all 4 questions. And yeah, I just want to really make it happen. I've just got to overcome a couple of obstacles, but I want to make it happen.
okay,
Mm.
great. I
But
mean,
no.
look, you know, the rule of thumb is you always make sure you're paid before the event because in the past when I haven't done that, I haven't always been able to get the money out of people, to be honest, that said they would pay. So I kind of do have to say, look, you got to pay 7 days. That's in the terms and conditions before we start. But yeah, I I also want to say, look, if you're having financial difficulties, reach out to me, because yeah, I don't want that to be an obstacle. So Yeah. Inshallah, inshallah. Just where there's a will, there's a way. If that is the reason, and I'm not speaking specifically to you at this point, but to anyone listening, that just say, how can this be possible? Show me a way. If you want me, say to the ancestors, say to your guides, say to Great Mystery, if you want to support me being at this, I need you to put the money in my account. And, you know, ask. So if we don't ask, there's such a thing as free will, and our ancestors, they can't intervene. But if we ask, then things change. So I would encourage you to ask if you're in a position where you're like, how can this be possible? And that could be around childcare. That could be, I don't know what the obstacle is, but ask for help. I know when I was, you know, needed to get to the UK to film a online course for Hay House, I was like, and my daughter then said, I want to come back and live with you, Mum. And of course, you're never going to say no to that. But I'd already had these, set up tickets to fly to UK solo. And I was like, how am I going to do this? And I asked 5 of my girlfriends. And so they set it up to take it in turns so that my daughter was held by a circle of women. So where there's a will, there's a way, is what I'm trying to say. And there is a way for us to meet our needs. And often it means calling upon the community or calling upon our ancestors for help. Thank you for even speaking that, Jagruti, because otherwise I wouldn't have spoken to that, that there were obstacles that you needed to address. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll end this call. If you do have any other questions, do reach out to me. admin@themoonwoman.com. You'll get Lynn, but she will refer things on to me. And yeah, happy to answer any questions. You also have my blessing if, excuse me, I'm going to put this up on YouTube. I'm going to put the link to this on the retreat web page, so you can share it with a girlfriend if you're thinking, oh man, I know someone that would love to go to this or could really use this, and maybe we could go together. Then you have my blessing to share this. It's not just for people that registered. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I'm so grateful to you for coming on live. And thank you to those of you that registered and for taking the time to listen and watch the recording. I look forward to spending a week with you in Morocco and sharing with you what I love about this culture, as well as, yeah, the pearls of wisdom that yeah, found from my own deep dive into the mystery of perimenopause, particularly that final 13 moons in Morocco. So blessings and thanks. Yeah.